Manager, thank you. Mr. Vice Mayor, thank you. Council members, thank you so much. Michael Goldstein with the Goldstein Environmental Law Firm. It is an absolute pleasure to be here before you this evening. The City of North Miami is one of the most exciting municipalities that I've been involved with to date in my 22 years of practice in terms of environmental redevelopment and the opportunities that exist to leverage the use of private capital to accelerate environmental restoration and job creation and some of the other wonderful benefits that are available through the Brownfields program. I have a presentation that I'm going to go through brief presentation that I'm going to try and go through briefly or quickly, and then I'll be available to answer any questions that you might have. Okay, so let's talk about brownfields in general. The term brownfield is both a generic term and it's a statutory term. It's typically used to refer to any type of real property, where either privately owned or publicly owned, where actual or perceived contamination complicates redevelopment, reuse, or expansion. And as a result of the way in which the federal and state environmental laws were created some 30 years ago, the marketplace started to move away from investing in these sites and reusing them. And so accordingly, the U.S. Congress and the Florida legislature and communities throughout the state have been looking for ways to use incentives to encourage the private sector and private capital and local governments and neighborhood stakeholders to embrace these sites and figure out how to use them more fully and more advantageously instead of avoiding them. So from in terms of a general overview of why the Brownfields program has been so popular and successful, we have some bullet items here that talk about some of the benefits, including a broad array of financial and regulatory incentives. I'll go through those in much more detail in short order because really that's where the rubber meets the road for the City of North Miami. There is a major opportunity to leverage significant state and federal incentives, tax refunds, tax credits, grants, low-interest loans, loan guarantees to accelerate environmental restoration, economic redevelopment, job creation, and better reuse of underutilized sites. Other aspects of the value proposition: the Brownfields approach to land reuse accelerates natural resource preservation, contaminated land restoration, public health protection. It provides a heightened ability to local governments, to city planners, to businesses and lenders and neighborhood stakeholders and advocates to unlock and access the intrinsic use and location and demographic value of environmentally challenged property, like the 3 sites that are subject to the resolution this evening. The program provides a powerful redevelopment catalyst. We've seen that throughout the state of Florida since 1997 when the Brownfields program was first enacted. It also provides a wonderful launching pad for broader sustainable redevelopment initiatives and tends to encourage developers to use the highest level of green construction materials and design methodologies. The program also provides stability and security for capital for lending on environmentally challenged sites, which is key. There's a high level of support from developers, lenders, businesses, community-based organizations, environmental justice and public health advocates, and neighborhood residents. We've seen that for almost 20 years. And last but certainly not least, this approach to land reuse increases revenue opportunities for local governments such as the City of North Miami. Ever since the mid-1990s, we've seen a tremendous interest all across the country in environmental reuse and redevelopment. Unfortunately, there are over 1 million brownfield sites across the country, comprising over 15 million acres. Fortunately, there's a strong institutional support within the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency and a number of sister federal agencies across the country, as well as within the Florida legislature and the Florida Department of Environmental Protection. The City of North Miami will benefit from all of that. Okay, let's get to where the rubber meets the road and talk about how this program will benefit the City of North Miami and its residents in terms of additional revenue opportunities, more economic investment, more job creation, and the like. The most significant incentives are set forth on this next slide. There's a voluntary cleanup tax credit, which we are going to use in this city. We propose to use in this city to recapture some of the grant funds that the city has received. We're going to recapture those grant funds in the form of tax credits and then monetize those tax credits to return cash to the general revenue fund. So the city will benefit in three ways. It will benefit initially from receiving the cash in the form of the grants from the county and from other actors. That's number one. Number two, once that money is spent on cleanup, we'll have the benefit of the cleanup. And then number three, we're going to take that money that was spent through these grant proceeds, we're going to convert them to tax credits, which the city can sell and again put back into the general revenue fund. I'll talk about that in a little more detail in short order. There's a wonderful tax refund that's available to the jobs, to the employers rather, that you want to bring into this city. For every employer who meets certain criteria on a brownfield site, they get a significant tax refund from the state of Florida. I'll talk about that in short order. And perhaps the most powerful financial incentive that has significant relevance here in the state of Florida is a 100% sales tax refund on construction materials for projects meeting a minimum threshold of affordable housing development. We'll talk about how that plays out for the city as well. In addition to the financial incentives, there are important regulatory incentives, such as liability protection for developers and end users and for lenders, making capital more comfortable and safe to finance construction and acquisition and redevelopment and job creation on your environmentally challenged sites. I have this cryptic bullet item next on the slide, most favored nation status. What I mean by that is sites that you take through the Brownfields program, whether they're municipally owned park sites or they're privately owned redevelopment sites, get expedited review and more favorable review from the local and state environmental regulators. That means your cleanup projects get through the pipeline much quicker and on a more predictable schedule, which means that you save time and you save money. And in addition to the tax credits and the tax refunds and so on, there are also targeted grants that are available from the state that we may be able to access for the city of North Miami. Let's drill down a little deeper into the specifics of the tax credits that may be available to the city of North Miami. The first tax credit is a very important tax credit. It's available for all of the money that the city spends in a given year on environmental testing and environmental cleanup and environmental remediation and certain site development activities that look and function like remediation, like capping, for example. If you are going to construct a parking lot or a building foundation or a spine road or a rubberized surface to facilitate a playground reuse over contamination, those types of approaches to construction have a remediation component and are eligible for tax credits. Every year that you spend money on these site rehabilitation activities, including certain legal costs like mine and certain engineering costs, are eligible for a tax credit in the amount of 50 cents on the dollar up to $500,000. If you conduct remediation for 4 years on a project, you'll get that tax credit up to $500,000 each of those 4 years. And then when you're done with the project, you get a bonus. The state wants to reward you for wrapping things up, so you get an extra bonus of 25 cents on the dollar up to another $500,000. And then there are some additional bonuses that can actually increase the city's yield to 100% or developers' yield to 100% if they're building affordable housing or providing for a healthcare facility. And then separate and apart from that tax credit, there's a final tax credit for simply removing solid waste, trash, from the ground. That's another 50 cents on the dollar up to $500,000. This is a spreadsheet that shows how some of these tax credits play out. I can already see that I'm spending a lot of time on these slides, so I'm going to rush through this, and if you want me to come back to it, I'm happy to do so. This slide is important because it shows what some of your brother and sister municipalities across the country are doing and how successful they've been in applying for tax credits. This is a slide that I prepared late last year, and it showed the aggregate amount of tax credits that had been approved and were awaiting allocation from the state across the state by certain municipalities. So, for example, the city of Orlando is very active in the brownfields redevelopment arena. They were awarded and had pending as of June of 2013, 5 tax credit applications in the aggregate of $758,000. And these other cities, as you can see, other municipalities and CRAs have been very successful in pursuing tax credits. By the way, municipalities and CRAs can't use Florida corporate income tax credits because they don't pay corporate income tax, but there's a secondary market that's available to purchase these tax credits, and they're typically monetized at the rate of between 81 and 88 cents on the dollar. And to give you a sense for how this works out, if the city were to obtain a $500,000 tax credit in a given year on a project and then went to sell that on the secondary market, I'll make the math easy, and the tax credit were sold at 80 cents on the dollar, that would return to the city's general revenue fund $400,000. So they would have the benefit of the $500,000 cleanup, and then they would be able to get back and put back into the general revenue fund for other purposes $400,000 cash. Pretty nifty trick. The second major incentive is for job creation. So you want to incentivize employers to come into your environmentally challenged areas. One great way to do this is to designate areas as brownfields and then make this tax refund available. How does it work? The state provides a tax refund of $2,500 for every new full-time equivalent job created. So if you have an employer come in, like a big box retailer or a call center or a grocery store, and they create 100 new full-time equivalent positions, they're going to get back a nice refund of $250,000 cash. And if they create 200 jobs and then it scales up to 500,000, there's no cap on that refund from the state. This incentive is one of the most powerful incentives in the state of Florida, and it's very exciting to me personally because of the affinity that I have for providing more affordable and workforce housing, and I believe this city shares that goal as well. There is a 100% sales tax refund on construction materials for affordable housing projects built in brownfield areas with executed brownfield agreements. How does this play out? There's a lot of information on this slide. Long story short, what we typically see is that on a construction budget, the total eligible amount of construction materials is typically computed at 30% of the construction budget. So if you have a total construction budget of $30 million, which is a medium-sized project, the total eligible building materials cost subject to the refund devolves down to $9 million. The tax credit, the sales tax on that in the state of Florida, in this county, is 6%, which would translate into a $540,000 refund. Actually, the sales tax is more; it's 7.5%. But the total the actual increment that's computed for the purpose of the refund is just that state sales tax portion, which is 6%. $540,000 is a very nice cash refund and very meaningful to an affordable housing developer. And for the larger projects, as you can see, the numbers can get quite significant. For a $75 million total construction project, we would expect the refund to be $1.35 million. And the only thing that you would need to do as a municipality to allow that incentive to exist would be to designate a site, a brownfield area. And I think what I'll do now is I'll just wrap up with some metrics to validate how popular and successful this program has been across the state. The statute was enacted in 1997. Since that time, there have been almost 250,000 acres designated as brownfields across the state of Florida, over 353 separate projects. The largest designated brownfield area, very large, over 14,000 acres. The smallest one, right here in the city of North Miami, but a powerful site, and that's the gas station that we designated several months ago, 0.26 acres. And then one final metric, and then I'll happy to entertain any questions that the council may have. The total projected capital investment as a result of all these designations in calendar year 2012, $823.5 million. That's very significant. And then the projected number of new direct and indirect jobs in calendar year 2012 in the state of Florida, over 17,000.
Thank you, Mr. Goldstein. We're going to now open this up for public discussion. Is there anybody from the public this evening who'd like to be heard on this item? Seeing none, we'll turn it over to council. Anybody on council have any questions?
I have some comments.
Councilwoman Keys?
Okay. Again, I met with Mr. Goldstein yesterday afternoon to go over a lot of questions that I had. I think it's a very good opportunity for the city if we do have these brownfields for the investment, the return. We're looking at almost for every $1 million we spend per year, and we can straddle it. We can in turn get cash back for about $400,000, and then we are talking about jobs, etc. Now, the one property we have, which is absolutely ripe for this, is Rux Park, because we have about $5 million to do cleanup. We're going to be spending it. We might as well take advantage and get these $500,000 credits every year. I'm disappointed that Mr. Johnson, you said Biscayne Landing was not interested. That is another place where we have another $15 million to spend on cleanup, and if we straddle that for every year we spend at least $1 million, we would be looking at about $400,000 in income. There's a tremendous amount of benefits that will go to the developer with job incentives, the construction costs, tax savings. So, Madam Attorney, if it is, we've asked questions, and it was discussed that Biscayne Landing had, in fact, agreed to allow us to get this designation. So I would like to pursue it, if it's legally possible, to allow us to get the brownfield designation as opposed to our developers. So I do want to make sure we get that. We also discussed the Claude Pepper Park. We are not going to be doing that kind of cleanup. I would rather, at this time, we don't have cleanup to do. It might be a designated brownfield, but and there's no cleanup, I think, to be done. So until we know that we're going to be doing a cleanup, I'd rather not invest money on Pepper Park, and it's a part of the resolution. So I want to make sure that we're not going forward to get a brownfield on Pepper Park, because we all decided we're not ready for Pepper Park. That being said, we discussed possibly getting a brownfield designation on the water plant, the treatment center. For the rehab of that plant, we could possibly use that as one of the properties, because we've bought properties, we've got cleanup, and that's a possibility. So I'm in favor of getting some brownfield designations. I just wanted to bring that up, that Claude Pepper is not one we should be doing. I think it's a great idea, and thank you.
Councilwoman, if I can respond just briefly, I agree with your suggestion about the water treatment plant. Based on what I've seen and read and understand, that would make a tremendous brownfields designation project, and would return significant dollars to the city.
All right. Before I ask any questions, anybody else on council have any questions on this item?
Thank you, Vice Mayor. From what I heard from staff, is not Biscayne Landing doesn't want to be part of it, they just want to do it themselves.
In talking to Biscayne Landing, they are interested. Mm-hmm. They did, in signing their comprehensive plan, listing their site as a brownfield was something that they did agree to. They're not opposed to this at all. They would just like to explore and have further meetings with Mr. Goldstein to strategize the timing of when this should be done. So they're very interested.
Okay.
It's not that they're not. I just wanted to remove it off of the list in fairness to their quest to strategize the timing of when it should be done.
Okay, point of clarification.
Yes.
Is if we don't vote on, or if Biscayne Landing is not part of the package, and we allow them to apply separate, if there's a difference between they apply or the city apply in terms of the benefit.
I don't think that the benefits would be any different because
it's
it would
city land.
it's the city's property. I will say that in terms of what sites we're going to apply for, keep in mind that we're asking the council to approve his services and not to concentrate on specific sites.
Well, you shouldn't put the site. You put all three of them before, so we have to discuss it.
Sure.
Except that, are you asking us to remove all the sites?
I'm asking that before we embark on any site and spend $25,000, we will look and explore through Mr. Goldstein's expertise to look at the chances.
So
that
can
it
you
will-
amend the item, the resolution? Is that what you're asking us to do, Madam City Attorney?
Yeah, and if I might add, this contract is site-specific in how much he gets paid. So
Right,
per site, per
Yes.
approval,
Right.
et cetera. If we're going to open this up to look at other sites and whatever, I think we need to continue this for a couple of weeks and let you come up with something that's different. Madam City Attorney?
At your pleasure, you can either continue it to allow more specific language as to per site, but how it reads now, it's 25,000 per parcel or per site. It does not necessarily mean that all three sites are included, but it's in the alternative. So if it's just one site, then he will be procured just to apply for the one site. If it's two sites, and so on and so forth. So it's really up to you if you want to continue it. We can certainly do that and come back. If you want to approve his services, as the manager indicated, then staff can continue the conversation with respect to Biscayne Landing, as well as, how we want to proceed with each individual
Okay.
site. So it's just up to you.
And that's
Mr.
good.
Vice Mayor, if I may?
So, one moment. Councilwoman Sterrell still has the floor. Councilwoman.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. But that's not answered my question. The item before us include three sites: Culpeper Park, Biscayne Landing, and Rocks Park. What the city manager is asking us to do is to approve the service, but not the site. So what I'm asking, I don't mind approve the service. Apparently, that the council agree that there's a need of the services. So can we actually have a friendly amendment to amend which we can. I am making a friendly amendment to remove the site, but just to approve the services. So how would that read?
May I add something to that, Vice Mayor,
Yes.
Councilwoman? I can tell you that Rocks Park and Claude Pepper Park will be two sites that we will be embarking on.
The last time that I talked to you, you told me that the county has a special program that Rocks Park, Pepper Park,
And it may come
was
off,
not.
so that,
So why am I approve something that may come out or may come back? Why don't we just approve the service, and then you come back to us whenever that you guys ready? Because I don't want to approve $25,000 for Pepper Park, and then it's not gonna happen. Or I might find more information, decided that, you know what, that there's no need for it, we don't need it. Why would we pay somebody $25,000, which you already passed the resolution, probably already signed a contract, and yet again we're not gonna do it? I understand clearly Rocks Park is a definite yes. So are you asking us, because I'm trying to avoid staff come back and forth before us for that. If we approve the service, so the first service already established, it's there in the city. So all you have to come before us, or we can, is that this site we will, continue working on that site.
Yes, we can approve
The
up
service.
to- the service up to 3 sites.
Yeah.
And as the city staff gets more information with respect to Claude Pepper Park, because there is a particular issue with the county as to whether there are truly contaminants or not, then we would remove that. and so on and so forth.
And
So it
Biscayne
can be
Landing
up
as
to
well, and
3
then you come
sites.
before us whenever there's a need
Well,
to include it.
there wouldn't be a need to come back to
No,
you.
okay.
So if
But
I'm.
I would, I'm sorry, Vice Mayor, may I? What do you mean there wouldn't be a need? Because if Pepper Park will be part of the Brownsfield project, I want to know about it. And I'm sure that up here, we would like to know which site that will be part of the Brownsfield project.
We can advise you of that. Yes, absolutely, we will
So,
advise you.
advise me, that doesn't mean, because I want to know what's the finding from the county before that I actually approve Pepper Park, definitely. So I don't want Pepper Park to be
well
part
then,
of.
Then if that's the case, then you would like to vote on each individual site after information is gathered. And it sounds like, if that's the will of the council, then we will perhaps just remove the other two
Okay.
and approve Rux Park. And as we get more information on the other two sites or any other site, which may include the
Definitely.
water treatment plant, then we'll come back to you with that.
Very
So
good.
there's
That's
a
my motion or amendment to
Motion.
the motion.
An amendment motion by Councilwoman Sterl to remove the names of Rux Park and Peppers Park.
Pepper Park and Biscayne Landing.
Not Roxbury.
Why don't
Not
we
Rocks
approve,
Park,
why
not
don't we,
Rocks
Just
we
approve the
vote,
service?
yeah, the service and the price
Okay.
for each application.
And then we'll
We're
make a
gonna pay
motion
them
for Rocks Park.
$25,000 for each applications.
Right.
Now, staff and you guys gonna work together and see which site gonna need an application
And tonight,
and notify us.
That was
I'm
my
sorry.
initial
Okay.
suggestion, but I don't
Okay, so
believe the
that's my motion.
councilwoman wanted.
No,
to
that's
do
what
it that way.
I went to do. That's my
Councilwoman,
motion.
so that we're all clear, will you state what your amendment is, please?
Yeah.
You just said so well, Vice Mayor, I don't want to repeat it again.
All right, if I understand your motion, it is that we remove the names of Pepper Park,
Rocks Park
We remove all names.
And-
remove all names
and
from,
Biscayne Landing.
including Biscayne Landing,
Mhm.
that tonight's resolution would simply be acknowledging the agreement with Mr. Goldstein for up to 3 properties within the.
No,
Doesn't
no,
have to
no.
be up to, just
Not up-
approve the service.
The service
and
and the
the price.
price.
All right, here's the
Per
problem. Here's the
application.
problem that the chair has with the motion. The contract is for dollar amounts specific to
A scope
number
of services.
sites.
And a scope of services.
Hold on, I'm rebooting.
No,
here,
it's
sorry.
25,000 per application.
It has
Right,
nothing to
but
do with
then it's
numbers.
12,500 per subject property upon engagement, 5,000 each time a subject property is designated a Brownsfield, 7,500 each time a BSRA for subject property is fully executed. So, is that a breakdown?
It's a maximum of 25,000 per application.
Okay. So, is this 25,000, what is the dollar amount of the contract we're being asked to approve this evening? Is it 25,000?
Up
Or
to.
is it 25,000 times 3?
25,000 times 3.
And we will bring every application back before the council for
Okay, so what we're approving this evening is a contract in the total amount of $75,000.
No.
No, that's what, previously, that's what it is now.
Okay. Please, I'm going to ask Mr. Manager, clarify for me, that's what I asked for the summary up top for.
Sure.
What is tonight's?
Mr. Goldstein Services is up to $25,000 per application.
Okay.
What we're asking for is for the council to approve him as the source to complete the applications up to $25,000 per application, which is per site, to a total, for a total of 3 sites. And we're looking at the amendment that the councilwoman is making, there won't be any names. We'll just bring each of those sites before the council as each application
So
goes.
25,000 times 3 is 75,000.
Up to.
Let
So
me-
we're being asked to approve a contract this evening totaling $75,000.
Vice Mayor, she made an amendment, and the amendment, and I have it written down, Councilwoman Stern made an amendment to remove the site's name and just approve the services.
Okay?
Now with that,
So that
there's
could
no,
be 10.
right,
10
and so now,
locations.
and so with that amendment, Mr. Manager clarified that for every site that he's going to be paid to examine, it needs to come back before the council individually. And that's what Councilman Biedemeyer clarified. So her amendment was to remove all names and just approve the services. And Councilman Biedemeyer
And
followed
the
up and
amount.
said, for every single site, it needs to come back before the council for your approval.
Okay. Question for the manager. Was this a budgeted item this year?
No, it's not budgeted.
Where are you planning to get 75,000 or more from?
We will look at the opportunity that exists, evaluate that opportunity, do a cost analysis to look at the benefits that the city may have in proceeding with the application. So as Mr. Goldstein indicated, the success of those applications does generate a revenue opportunity as well as the other two opportunities to the city. So the initial application will come from cost savings that we normally find throughout the budgeted
It's
year.
the federal government that designates us a Brownsfield, is that correct?
No, sir.
It's-
No,
who's-
it's
who-
it's the council. The council effectuates the designation.
Okay. So we're guaranteed success. Here's my problem.
Yes.
We're going to spend money on you that
Yes.
we don't have in the budget. What happens if our applications, who the application goes to, then I don't understand. But if our applications are turned down, well, we have spent money and not gotten anything back.
Okay, let me take a step back. The process begins with the effectuation of a brownfield designation. There are two routes in which a property can be designated a brownfield. Where a local government wants to designate a single site, an assemblage of sites, a corridor of sites, there's a single set of statutory criteria available to the local government. It's very broad, it's very permissive.
So I got to make this layman's term. We're
Yes.
going on too long of tangents. Who designates this a Brownsfield? Us?
You,
It's-
collectively, the
And-
council.
And so automatically, the $25,000 per site that we're spending, we're going to get back returns of 300 and 400,000? It's that easy?
Well, it's, if it were, no, it's not that easy, and it's not that simple, it's not that straightforward. Again, there's a process. The first part of the process is the designation, which the local government, which this council will effectuate if it chooses
Okay.
to go that route. That's number one. Once that designation is in effect, all of these other financial incentive opportunities that I discussed become available. So if the city begins to spend eligible costs on cleanup activities on a designated brownfield area, at that point, the city has an opportunity at the end of each calendar year to submit a tax credit application to the state of Florida. That's one incentive opportunity. Separate and apart from that incentive opportunity, you may have incentivized a developer to create a new business. That new business would have the opportunity to pursue a separate tax incentive, a tax refund based on job creation. That doesn't go to the city, that goes to the employer.
But the two places we're talking about, and I know we're taking titles off and names off, but Rux Park and Pepper Park are parks. We're not going to have developers coming in and building businesses there. They're
Okay,
both parks.
or homes, or you're not going to be using them for housing. And
Parks.
don't
We went
know
through a whole
for now,
presentation of a splash
Very
park
good.
and
Then the only incentive that would be available to the city, the only meaningful incentive that would be available to the city, separate and apart from grants, which you don't need the brownfields designation for, is this tax credit application that you apply for on an annual basis. And to the extent that you spend eligible costs in a designated brownfield area and you've negotiated a brownfield agreement with the county and it's in place, yes, you will have that application awarded.
So the tax
Approved.
credit application goes to Tallahassee,
Yes, sir.
and what are our odds of getting approved?
Very,
Yeah.
very good. Exceedingly high.
Okay. so-
Exceedingly high.
So can we add a condition here that, I'm worried about spending money and not getting anything back for it, guys. It's not in the budget. So, Madam City Attorney, is it appropriate to add some sort of language? And I know we've still got discussion, a vote coming on the amendment to remove the names, but can we add some sort of condition that if we're not approved, that some of this money doesn't get paid? I mean,
Certainly the parties can agree to some sort of contingency, but I would really defer to Mr. Goldstein to determine whether that's something that
Right.
we'd be willing to agree to.
Yeah.
I would.
I guess That is partly already written in here because 12,500 per property is paid upon engagement tomorrow. And then the other 12,500 is subject to approval. Am I correct in interpreting the contract language?
Mr. Vice Mayor, I don't think you are correct. What we do is we perform services, unlike most other law firms in this town, on a flat fee basis, turnkey flat fee basis, subject to milestones. They're based on milestones. We perform a certain fee, certain task, and a fee is charged. And in that way, the client, whether it's a local government or a private client, understands exactly what they will be paying for the work proposed. And so the 25,000 involves the whatever tasks are set forth in the resolution. Those are the services that we've proposed. We can't guarantee any particular result with respect to a tax credit application. All we can guarantee is our best efforts.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Manager, and we're going to vote on the amendment. I can't support this tonight if we're not sure we're going to get the money, or if it's not written in there somehow that we can control that. I can't in good conscience, though I think this could be wonderful for us. I can't approve spending $75,000 of unbudgeted tax revenue for something that may give us zero. So
Sure, I understand.
that's my concern tonight. So
Sure.
first, the motion on the table by Councilwoman Sterl was to remove the names of the sites and just sort of make this a blanket agreement. We're only voting at this moment on the removal of the names, not the agreement itself. The second to that,
No, we're voting on the agreement
With the amendments.
minus the name.
Yeah.
the chair
Just before you
the
move
chair
on,
the chair first wants to vote on the amendment to remove the names.
Okay,
No,
may,
that's not the motion.
Okay,
On
then
the
here we
table.
go, flat out.
No,
All in favor? The motion was made
I
by
don't-
Councilwoman Sterl to remove the names and approve this contract.
may I,
It was
Mr.
second.
Chair,
Hold on, I
since-
want to see if there was a second. Is there a
No,
second?
second to what? If it's not the correct
You explain
amendment,
exactly
you
what
cannot
All
have a
right,
second.
I'll come back to you then, Councilwoman, with the same stuff that I had about 20 minutes ago. Councilwoman, would you please state your amendment, please?
Okay. Before there is an amendment, I want to make sure that if there is even consideration, because I don't want to vote on something that if we're not comfortable with. From when I met with Mr. Goldstein, I think that we had a very lengthy meeting, and you really tried to explain every details of it. I would feel comfortable to actually continue this item for you to sit with the concealment. Maybe if the vice mayor is interested for you to answer, because from what I understand, it's just as like if you're a 501c3, there's tax credit that's there for you. If you approve, you approve. It's not so like it's a grant that they might give it to you. This is money that the federal or the state actually
state.
have there for Brownsville. What's the destination? If you actually, if the city voted, or what's the
Busy.
proper word?
Effectuated the designation.
The designate the land as a brownfield, automatically you qualified for a certain tax credit. That's from what I understand. It's not like they're gonna create a special target or a special grant for us. It's just there for everybody that actually already designated
That
as a
complies with the
brownfield.
criteria, that's right.
And you apply for it, and then you will get it. So
Yes,
that's what I
Councilwoman.
understand. But it is so unfortunate that you did not have a chance to meet with the concealment to actually,
It is
the
indeed
vice mayor
unfortunate.
to. But I would make a motion to continue this item for next council meeting until that you meet with all of us. Then with all of us, really get a good understanding of it.
Motion has been made to continue this item to the January 28th City Council meeting. Is there a second?
I second it.
It's been seconded. Any further council discussion?
I'd like to ask one question, just so we can go back and think about it. This council designates a property as a brownfield. Will the state, is there a possibility, or how great is the possibility that the state comes back and says, we don't think so?
Zero. It's not possible by statute.
Okay.
And please read the statute when you meet with them, because right
No,
now
we're
I
go-
can
we're gonna
discuss it.
continue-
Not
we're gonna
now,
continue
continue
this.
it.
The motion is
Correct.
on the
Very
table to
good.
continue this.
Okay.
I need a vote.
Yeah, no, we're going to vote. Is there any further council discussion on the matter?
No.
All in favor of continuing until January the 28th, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Thank you. Thank you for your time, Mr. Goldstein.
Thank you so much.
Moving on to tab G, Mr. Clerk.
Discussion and approval for expenditure from the Law Enforcement Trust Fund, LETF, to be utilized for community projects and events necessary to promote positive police image, crime prevention, and other law enforcement purposes.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Mr. Manager, will you summarize what this evening's request is?
As we had put in the council report, there's a list of items that are projected for approximately $40,000 from the Law Enforcement Trust Fund to be utilized for fiscal year 2013-2014. Indicated was for community projects and events, positive police image, crime prevention, and other law enforcement purposes. I had Mr. Manresa put a list of those items that are projected to be used for with this expenditure for this specific item.
Where is it?
Mr. Manager, before I open for council discussion, a question from the chair. What is the source of our LATF funds?
LATF funds are derived from seizures, whether it's from drug seizures, drug money, from the sales of equipment, working with other law enforcement agencies, wherein the city gets a percentage for providing additional personnel to work with those agencies. The funds that they capture from seized assets are distributed. We get that funding. So therefore, the state law, there's a state statute that says that these funds will go for law enforcement purposes, and they have to be approved by council. However, the expenditures of those is based upon the police department presented to the council. The spirit of it is that the state statute wants to ensure that cities don't use those funds in such a way to accommodate their budget, so that it's kind of protected of how it can be used. There's a state statute on that. So that's where the funds come from, and that's the statute that says how it has to be used for law enforcement purposes. There is a percentage that must go back to the community, and some of that is within this guideline.
The state funds that we're receiving, which state agency is providing these funds to us?
It's our local agency, and if we work with
State
for
Attorney's Office, Florida Department of Law Enforcement, is there a
Absolutely.
strike force? Is it?
That's correct.
Okay.
And
Which
then
is it?
there's the federal Law Enforcement Trust Fund, which is a different
Right.
item.
So, but you just said there's a state statute. So are these state LETF funds or are they federal LETF funds?
They're law enforcement trust funds, but the expenditures of those funds are the same, but the accounting of where they come from, one is federal and one is local. So this says this is local,
Both
a
government
law
and state?
enforcement trust fund. So you
Right, it
got,
says law enforcement, it doesn't say whether it's a
Right.
there are different guidelines. I've done a little research on this
Yeah,
recently.
there's-
There are different guidelines for federal LETF funds and state LETF funds.
that's correct.
So I'm trying to determine whether our source for these funds are state or if they're federal.
These are state
These are state only, state guidelines.
guidelines.
Okay, so
Yes.
with that now, if that, we've got that established and it's known, what agency is giving us these? That's what it's not the state,
Okay.
it's got to be some sort of program that we're participating in that's giving us our cut, so to speak.
Sure. Most of it is local seizure from our narcotics unit. So I can say they all are local because it's what we do as a mutual aid agreement to work with other agencies, being at Miami-Dade County, the Florida Department of Law Enforcement, but because we have a mutual aid and we are participating, that's what makes it under the state statute, because they're done by state statute. So it's what our agency is doing by participating either with those state agencies or on our own as a local city.
All right. I guess, does the police department, do you wish for the police department to make a presentation, or?
There's no presentation other than I believe we had presented an exhibit that would reflect what those items were for.
And there's no budget attached. I mean, I have concerns that there's lists of things that it would go for, you know, awards, refreshments, some catering, but it doesn't give any specifics as to how much of that would go through. Does the department have any further detail on that?
No, and I can tell you why. There are specific events that come up, like we have a fact festival coming up. And those events are listed, but there are also other activities that pop up that could be through the Police Athletic League. They're short of funding. They want to participate in a specific event. So it's very difficult to put a line item, so we keep it within the spirit of a framework, and we listed what those activities would be. So that's how we've traditionally have expended those funds. So it's basically something comes up, community policing related. For instance, I give you another example. We have the Police Explorer program. They could be short of uniforms. We have the Citizens Mobile Patrol. There are a lot of items that comes up throughout the year that are within the guidelines of the state statute that they expended for.
Okay. Is there a presentation then that you wish for the police department to make, or I'll just open it for council discussion?
No.
Okay. Any council members have a question?
No. It just when I go through the list, it seems to me that those are the program that has been happening in the city throughout the 9 years that I have been here. So,
okay. Is there a motion to approve the item?
Move the item.
Moved by Councilwoman Sterl. Is there a second? Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Biename. Any further council discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
And those opposed, nay. Item passes 3-1.
Tab H, discussion and approval in support of Miami-Dade County League of Cities to purchase a table in the amount of $1,500 for its annual installation gala on February 8, 2014.
Thank you. Is there anybody from the public who wishes to be heard on tab H for the Dade League of Cities annual installation gala item? Seeing none, public hearing is closed. Anybody from council?
On behalf of Councilman Michael Bland, I support this item in his memory, because I know that the League of City, this is memory doesn't mean that the person passed away. Come on, he's no longer with us in the council, and I know that League of City, this is one of the organization that he always support, and I am a member, actually a board member of the League of Cities, and to tell you the truth, they have been working very hard on behalf of the cities. They lobbied Tallahassee, they're up to federal. So whatever the issues that we have, we always call them, and they're actually working with us. We usually give them $5,000. So this year somehow Councilwoman, I'm not advocating to give them $5,000, but it seems to me that we actually kind of very low. My question with to the city manager: did we budget for the League of Cities or not?
We did not, but we do have. This comes under the spirit of some of the community events and talking to the budget manager. We have community events that this would fit the guideline
Okay.
of participating in.
Okay. I move the item.
All right, motion has been made for the item. Is there a second?
Second.
Second has been made. Any further council discussion?
Could we just agree to pay for the council members? I mean, we're going to get it. What we're doing is we're paying for a table. Why don't we just authorize if the council person is going to attend, and whether they're going to whether we pay for guests or not, that's besides the point. But let's just pay per council person and/or a
May I,
guest.
Mr. Chair?
Sure.
Okay, here's my only concern with the League of Cities. The League of Cities, to me, is not just an organization that's doing an event. This is an organization that we have that actually advocate on behalf of all the cities. That's actually doing work that affecting us. So I'm not buying a table, or I'm not suggesting to just buy a ticket to go. This is, if we have money, I would seriously advocate to give them $5,000, just as we're giving any other organization that we think that's serving the city as a non-for-profit. So the other organization that's coming before us asking us to buy tickets for an event, I understand that argument, but when it comes to the League of Cities, I think it's beyond just buying a ticket or just going to the event. We're supporting an organization that actually working on our behalf, and they have been working.
I do agree there.
So,
You are 1,500 plus paying for the council, from what I understand now.
no, that's
The
not
the
what
motion
what
on
it
the
is?
table is for $1,500 even.
correct. Yeah, we're done.
All right. Any further council discussion on the item? Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion passes 3-1. Tab I, Mr. Clerk.
Discussion and approval in support of the Haitian American Leadership Organization, HALO, to purchase a table in the amount of $1,800 for its 9th annual Halo Cultural Night, January 18, 2014.
Public discussion is now open on tab I. Anybody from the public wishes to be heard? Seeing none, public hearing is closed. Is there a motion from a council member?
I move it for the purpose of discussion.
Motion for the $1,800 for the Halo event. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been seconded. Council discussion.
I'm listening.
Anybody have any questions?
I think this, we talked about the League of Cities, and I agree, they do a lot for our city. They give a lot back to the council. They're teaching us, we're going to seminars, or training our staff. This organization, I don't know what they're doing for our council. They're asking $1,800 for a table. If we wanted to give a token, if someone on the council wanted to go, I mean, I'd be willing maybe to pay for someone who wanted to attend their ticket, but not to buy a table for 12.
Okay. I want to go, and a guest.
Does that include me, by the way?
You can't go.
All right.
And,
Any further
can
council
you tell-
discussion? Seeing none, the motion
I
is...
think. did you
Oh,
want
Councilman
to say
Bienemy, I'm
something?
sorry.
No, I was going to ask the city clerk, can he tell us a little bit about the organization? If you're part of it.
Yeah,
Oh,
I'm
you're
not
not.
familiar.
Oh, you're not a member of
No,
the
I'm not a
organization.
member. I'm not familiar.
I
Is there
think our
anybody
mayor
here
is
from, from Halo tonight? No? Okay.
So I would.
I think
make-
the mayor is not.
I would make a motion to, if the city manager can come up with the fund to give them, I'm amended my, how do I do that? Amended my motion to $1,000 instead of $1,800.
Okay.
Is that, okay.
Motion has been made for the reduction from 1,800 to 1,000. Is there a second for the amendment? I'll second the amendment.
Oh, okay.
Any other discussion on the amendment? All in favor of the amendment from $1,800 to $1,000, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
From 1,800
To
to.
1,000. Again, I'll restate, since we had some discussion down there. The motion on the amendment was to lower the donation amount from $1,800 to $1,000 even. Motion was made by Councilwoman Sterile. I seconded it. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Motion passes 4-0. All right, council reports. Councilwoman Keys.
My report, as you've heard, I'm holding a workshop on code compliance next Wednesday in the council chambers. I really encourage everybody to come and give your input. This is our chance, your chance as citizens, rather than a law to just be passed in 5 minutes. You now have a say. It seems like residents and business owners throughout the city have complaints on blight, code compliance. This is a chance. Anything that is bothering you, please, I am looking for your input. I've been working with our city attorney. The Chapter 5 on minimum housing has been revised. It's online. If you go to the website, there's a link to it on the notification of the workshop. Just in the past 2 months, in less than 2 months, 3 roofs have fallen in on our apartment buildings. 2 in one project and 1 on 132nd Street. These are the types of catastrophes we're looking to eliminate. We're looking to tighten up our minimum housing laws. We're also looking to clean up the city, clean up a lot of items. I'm not going to go into detail. They're listed on the website. Please come, tell us what bothers you, what you think we can do to make our city a better place to live in. And once we do that, then we're going to have to also go forward and make sure that we can enforce them. Thank you. Please come next week.
Thank you, Councilwoman Keys. Councilwoman Sterile, we're going to go ladies first tonight.
All right, I appreciate it. Thank you, Vice Mayor. Just wanted to wish everybody Happy New Year. I hope this year can be much, much, much better for the city of North Miami when we all can actually work for the betterment of the constituents. So, again, Happy New Year, everyone.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Councilman Biename.
I have a question for the city manager and the city attorney. I think in 2006, we signed an agreement with the school board. And from that agreement, they're supposed to build the Cagney Park, right?
I'm not
Park.
for sure on the details, but yes, they are supposed
Yeah, it
to
was
build the new
2005.
academy.
2005.
Yes, sir.
It's 10 years. They still haven't built that park. Can you give us an idea why?
Sure. As you know, that their schedule was to, number one, build the new school. So that took a few years. Number two, they built the middle school there. That was their next phase. And then it was to tear down the school. That was their next phase. And then it was to remodel the existing gym, which they have done. And while that was being done, to concurrently put together a design for what you see as an empty field. They had indicated that, I apologize, that they would then start construction in January, and that the facility is to be completed by midsummer of this year. So on their list, they are on time according to the schedule that was agreed upon.
Oh, I thought they were in violation of that agreement because we tried to build a school and they feel like we're in violation with our agreement. I thought by not building the Cagney Park 10 years later, they were in some type of violation of that agreement.
I will certainly look at that agreement and
but when I
report back
spoke to
you.
them, I asked them for a presentation, and what happened?
As indicated by Mr. Kareth Fetler, that the school board informed us that they have they've made some personnel changes. So the project manager that was on that particular project is no longer with the school board. They have a new project manager who was not able to be here tonight, but will be at the very next council meeting.
Okay. Thank you.
If I
Mr.
might
Chair.
add, oh, Councilwoman?
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Mr. City Manager or Madam City Attorney, I just want to piggyback on what the councilman has mentioned about the charter school. I know that we up here actually decided, I know some didn't vote for it, but it was passed that for us to pursue the charter school. And I know that there have been some going back and forth between the city and the school board. I am asking to put the charter school on the next agenda as an item for the council can actually review and get an updates where we at and how we want to proceed with this item. Okay.
Okay. All right, Councilman Bienemé, any further questions?
Which I just want to wish each and everyone a Happy New Year.
All right. Happy New Year, everybody. Just quickly under my report, I want to point out to the manager, it's a moot point, but luckily it wasn't really controversial. In my council mail that I received as I sat down tonight, there's a memo from you with some documents related to the Gator Investment Properties dated January the 6th. Today's January the 14th. That means it lingered here for close to a week or more than a week. And I didn't get to see it. I mean, we'd already voted and I started opening my mail after the fact. So we need to make it clear to folks up here in the mayor council office, especially when it's time sensitive for a council meeting. It's just, we can't have documents sitting around for over a week because this could have made the difference. This could have been a big old long discussion, and luckily it wasn't.
Sure.
I want to follow up on something Councilman Keyes brought up and harken back to something we did close to 10 years ago when Irma Plummer was the city manager. It's inexcusable that roofs are collapsing in apartment buildings around the city. I didn't even know of the third one. I knew of the second one due to termites. But we need to stand up for our residents who are in apartment buildings. Yes, they may just be renters and they're not the biggest taxpayers and most of them probably don't vote, but none of them should be living in substandard housing. I'd like to take upon what the councilwoman said and add to it. I'd like us to organize a task force of code officers, minimum housing officers, police officers, fire officials, if necessary, the health department, and go building to building unannounced and show up and do a minimum housing inspection. Because if landlords are taking people's rent and they're not literally providing a safe roof over people's homes, or the conditions are dirty, then we need to be doing something about it. So if the rest of the council feels that this is worthy of direction to the manager, I'd like to ask that we direct the manager to set up a minimum housing task force to go around and start regularly, like multiple times per month, visiting homes until we feel comfortable that things are under control.
You want me to? I think the city attorney have an item. Did he come before us, or he will be coming before that will somehow address these particular issues?
Yeah, so we've been discussing some of these issues for a few months now, and during the process of amending the code, Chapter 5, which deals with building maintenance issues, has included, the proposed Chapter 5 has included in it a Landlord-Tenant Registration Act. And what that would do would require landlords to register with the city and get a permit or a license, and require them to submit an application. Upon the application, allow city staff to visit and inspect the unit, and if it passes inspection, then they're allowed to rent, and if it does not pass inspection, then they are not allowed to rent. And what that would do would be a way for us to have greater scrutiny into the landlord-tenant issues that we're experiencing.
Oh.
So the issue, that particular ordinance was going to be coming before us. Councilwoman Keyes wanted to have a code compliance workshop to allow residents input into the entire Chapter 5 and other related chapters, and so that will be next week, and hopefully, depending on the input, we will have that ordinance ready for your consideration at the next council meeting or in February.
Okay, that resolution will deal with the upcoming issues that we will be having, but what about the issues that we already have in the city? Do we need that ordinance in order to address the councilman suggestion?
Oh, no. So certainly city staff, minimum housing can initiate sweeps. I think they do some of that currently, but they certainly can initiate sweeps and go through buildings. Of course, they can't come in unless someone gives them consent, but.
Okay, what do you mean?
That's
Because
the
what
problem.
what I heard, that's where I wanted to go. What I heard
Yeah.
the councilman mention is that they can actually go unannounced. Is that
Well,
an
I think what he
ordinance
was
that-
suggesting was come unannounced to the building, but certainly you cannot enter into someone's home if they don't give you permission. Unless
okay? But
there's
we don't
some-
have our code permit that we don't have to announce to the building owner, but we have to get permission, of course, from the tenant. That's what you're saying. The code permit us to just go knock on the door or call the tenants. Would you allow me to come to inspect yours? But we don't have to ask
No,
permission
I mean,
from
you
the
can,
building
you can
owner.
go to any building at any time. It's just whether you can go into a unit.
Okay.
There are common areas like elevators, stairwells, hallways,
Or top of the building.
right, on the
Inspect the
roof,
roof.
that I think we could already go to. So while we're waiting for the month or so for the, for the ordinance to work its way through the process, then if we can go ahead and do some sort of very proactive, contact with some apartment buildings, maybe you choose the largest or a couple per district, however you want to do it. Please don't single any landlord out. But we need to make sure that, if 3 happened in the last month, that means probably
terrible.
others have happened that just didn't get on our radar because we weren't looking at it. So anything that we can do to address that, I'd be thankful for. I probably had other little thing that I was going to bring up, but it was little and I can't remember what it was. So Happy New Year,
It's only
everybody.
9:20.
I know. Well, hey, my goal was to get this meeting over by 9 o'clock. So we're almost there. City Clerk's report. Mr. Clerk, do you have anything?
Real brief. I want to publicly thank the Good News Ministries Incorporated. For those who don't know, since being elected, I held my first public event, and that was the toy drive, the Christmas toy drive we had December 20th. And in conjunction with Good News, we gave over 900 gifts away to primarily most of the residents we gave gifts to were residents of North Miami. So I want to publicly thank them for allowing us to have a very, very successful toys giveaway. In addition to that, we used a couple of FIU volunteers to go door to door as Santa with me to give gifts to those parents who couldn't find transportation to the toy drive. So I want to publicly acknowledge Good News, and it's a remarkable organization. Thank you for helping me with that event, and it was a remarkable event. The second announcement is I was recently at a luncheon with a couple of other criminal defense attorneys, and when I was acknowledged as the city clerk in North Miami, a couple of defense attorneys were very upset at me because they're alleging that because of our police department, they're losing a lot of money. Apparently, the crime rate has drastically dropped. And they're not getting a lot of clients out of the city of North Miami. And so, yeah, and that's very good. And so I wanted to, I thought that was funny. I was the bad guy in the room because our chief is doing such a great job. So I want to commend. And Larry was here earlier, Assistant Chief Larry. I remember him when I was a kid, causing trouble in North Miami. And Scott, you remember that? And he was always a great cop. And I just think that our chief and the assistant chief and that team there, under the leadership of the manager, is doing a remarkable job. And although you're hurting our pockets, it's for a good cause. And I'm very happy that the crime rate for the city of North Miami has consistently declined under your tenure. And last but not least, no thanks to you, Councilwoman Keys. As an elected official, I have a budget to go to those events, so I will recommend that everyone go to the HALO event, the Haitian American Coalition event. It's a great organization. I was a member. I'm no longer a member, but I will be there, and I would encourage everyone in the public to show your support and show up. Okay, and that'll conclude my announcement.
I was going
Thank
to
you
take
very
the
much.
funding from you anyway.
But you did.
So the
Will you
full
put the
$800?
$800?
That's what usually all the elected officials do things together. You guys have your budget, so I'll pay for everyone.
You got your money, go.
Will you put the other $800? Huh?
I'll pay for you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. City
You
Clerk.
can't take my teasing.
Madam City Attorney, anything for us this evening?
No, sir.
Thank you very much. Mr. City Manager.
You all have received a packet. It's an information packet regarding the city of Delray Beach. As you know, that as we embark on our capital improvement plan, we wanted to give this council an opportunity to look at other successful downtown revitalization plans that are similar to our city. We will be leaving this Friday for a tour of the city of Delray Beach because what they have embarked on is what our city has embarked on. So the information is there for you, and we're looking forward to seeing you on Friday.
Sorry, I want you to
Okay.
Neither will I. Thank you, Mr. City Manager. If there are no other reports, is there a motion to adjourn?
Yes.
All in favor, say aye. All right, everybody. Thank you.